keeping you informed, prepared, and connected. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay.
And just minutes ago, Manatee County became the latest county to order an evacuation for Level A. This as Helene is expected to become a hurricane. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay, your hurricane headquarters. I'm Frank Wiley.
And I'm Dave Wagner, in for Courtney this evening. From up in Citrus and Hernando counties to down in Sarasota and Manatee, we have team coverage for you this evening. Our reporters have fanned out all across the area, talking to neighbors and officials about what to expect. But first, 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins has the very latest from the National Hurricane Center.
Yeah, just got the 5 o'clock numbers in, updating that graphic there. Look at number one. Here is a look at the satellite presentation, 50-mile-per-hour winds as of 5 o'clock. So it went from 45 earlier to now 50-mile-per-hour winds. It's getting a little bit stronger. Pressure's come down as well. It's moving to the west-northwest at 12, which is good. Further west it goes, the better for us, because then after that turn, maybe it'll go further to the west. But look at that satellite. Much better looking storm right now. At least it's got that outflow going around it. It's starting to look more like a hurricane. Now, the closer view, there's not a whole lot of convection right around the center, but we're starting to see some out ahead of it. You can see the little spin there. And look, just in the last half hour, we're really starting to see convection right over the center. This thing is strengthening. Now, the forecast model is suggesting maybe it's actually a little less streaming to the northwest and then turning to the north. By the time we get towards Wednesday, midday, it becomes a Category 1 hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour winds. Then, and here's the important part, it's north-northeast across the Gulf of Mexico. And that's Wednesday night, Thursday morning, 2 a.m., through about 2 p.m. Thursday afternoon, Category 3 major hurricane. Still the forecast, although the models are a little bit on the high side, some of them are starting to come down a little bit, but it still looks like Category 3 landfall in the Big Bend area, kind of near Tallahassee, obviously south of Tallahassee. That would be sometime in the evening hours on Thursday, I'd say just after sunset or so. Then it moves to the north and it falls apart. Big time rainmaker beyond all of that. We have a tropical storm watch for inland locations. I'll go over all of those coming up here. You can see the forecast model, still a couple outliers over here, but we're starting to get some here where the main track is from the Hurricane Center, and actually some starting to come back a little bit further to the west, so we'll have to watch that. If that happens, anything further to the west, less weather for us. Closer to the east, more weather for us, right? Just because the center is going to come by and be a little bit closer. And then it actually does what we call Fujiwara, wrapping around an upper level low. Here are those watches and warnings. Hurricane watch still. Coastal Sarasota, Manatee, all of Pinellas, coastal Hillsborough, all of Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus. Inland locations, we have a tropical storm watch. We just expect more wind right along the immediate coast. And then obviously we're going to have those hurricane watches going all the way up the coast. Timing, when does this happen? It's Thursday, right? A few bands will come around tomorrow. By 8 to 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, we'll start to see some tropical storm force winds move in here. I think the highest winds and surge will happen after 2 p.m. on Thursday through about 10 p.m. Thursday, and then gradually overnight Thursday night and Friday things will get better. I'll show you coming up in my forecast here. We'll go hour by hour with our forecast model, and we've got weather out there right now, just a couple of showers. I'll track those for you too.
All right, thank you, Bobby. And sandbag sites on both sides of the bay are busy today. This as neighbors look to protect their homes from flooding. This morning, we spoke to a Brandon man who told us it was the first time he's ever felt the need to get sandbags.
I've been after Desert Storm, but this here tells me there's a little different here. This storm's a little different. It's too close, and something tells me I better get some sandbags.
And he's listening too, much like all the other people out there. You can find a full list of sandbag sites on the free 10 Tampa Bay app. We also have information on school closures, evacuation zones, and what to put in your hurricane kit. And our reporters are fanned out across the area talking to neighbors and officials about what to expect. Right now, 10 Tampa Bay's Aaron Parsegian live for us in Pinellas County, where officials closed schools for tomorrow and issued a mandatory evacuation for long-term care facilities in Zone A.
Yeah, and Aaron, you're at a sandbag site that's still seeing a high demand this evening.
Yeah, Dave and Frank, this is what sandbag sites in St. Pete have looked like throughout today. You can see around the corner, that's where they're actually getting those sandbags picked up, a full service operation here. But then take a look at the line. This stretches all the way down 62nd Avenue, cars and cars. There's so much demand for this stuff. The city of St. Pete tells me they've handed out more than 33,000 sandbags just today alone as people brace for both the flooding and potential storm surge.
Impact there.
Yeah, this especially as the areas along the water, and crews spent the day getting stormwater systems ready in the neighborhoods known to flood. 10 Tampa Bay's Angelicia Bruton joining us live at Ballast Point Park with more on an important message for folks.
That's right. Mayor Jane Castor says that it's been all hands on deck this week as they work to prepare residents with the proper tools to keep them safe, whether that be giving out sandbags or clearing any drainage systems to help prepare for any flooding. Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkhaus says that they have high water vehicles in place ahead of the storm, but he needs the communities to do their part and to take extra precautions to stay safe. Live in Tampa, Angelicia Bruton, 10 Tampa Bay.
All right, thanks, Angelicia. And of course, you can stay informed, prepared, and connected throughout that storm. Download the 10 Tampa Bay Plus streaming app for the latest updates on storm tracks, impacts, and forecasts. I want to turn now to some other top stories this evening, starting with a warning for drivers.
Yeah, tickets are now being sent out to people who pass stop school buses in Polk County. Hillsborough County has the same program. It's been officially sending out fines there for about 2 weeks now. These county school buses have cameras attached near their stop arms that take photos of cars that illegally pass, similar to red light cameras. Just a reminder here, the only time you do not have to stop for a school bus is if you're on the other side of the road, separated by a median. But you should still keep an eye out for any kids crossing the street.
And the fallout over the Florida Health Agency's website on abortion is set to continue in a courtroom tomorrow. A judge will hear arguments in the lawsuit against the DeSantis administration. A group that's suing Floridians Protecting Freedom claims the state is using public resources to campaign against Amendment 4, which they say violates Florida law. Attorneys for the state are claiming. And we're live in Sarasota, where neighbors are hoping they don't see a repeat of the flooding issues brought by Hurricane Debbie just last month. What officials are doing and why some worry it's not enough. We'll be right back.
10 Tampa Bay closed captioning is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. 10 Tampa Bay with Courtney Robinson, Frank Wiley, and Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins.
Want to flash back to this scene right here behind us. Right now in Sarasota, one neighborhood's concerns are running high, hoping they don't see a repeat of this kind of flooding left by Hurricane Debbie last month.
Rain officials drained water from the nearby celery fields, an area that saw severe flooding during Debbie. 10 Tampa Bay's Aduria Chumba is live in Laurel Meadows right now. And Aduria, some neighbors still aren't happy.
Yeah, that's correct. They are concerned about the situation and what happened here the last time, especially since some of those concerns still exist and with Helene's impacts just possibly days away. Is to start your own preparation before the rains come. Good example is to get those sandbags and get those valuables to higher ground. Now tonight, Sarasota County is also under a local state of emergency, and level A evacuation alerts, which includes mobile homes, will start going out as early as tomorrow at 7 a.m. Also, evacuation centers in Sarasota at noon. Live in Sarasota, Aduria Chumba, 10 Tampa Bay.
Aduria, thank you. And Tampa Bay's northern counties are set to see the worst impacts. This as the storm's track points to Florida's Big Bend region. I want to show you this right here. A live look at the Suncoast Keys neighborhood right there. Not much going on at this hour, but for a reason. It is one of the most low-lying areas of Citrus County. That's why we're showing it to you. And ahead at 5:30, 10 Tampa Bay's Hannah Deneen covering how folks will soon be under a mandatory evacuation order.
But first, Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins is here. Crystal River could see some serious impacts, Bobby, and that's where we're tracking this
10
storm.
foot.
It's scary.
Yeah, 10-foot surge, and they haven't seen that. They have not seen that in a long time. It's been a while. The winds will not be a factor as much with this on land, at least. It's the wind offshore that's blowing water. Those highest winds will stay offshore, but they're going to push water in our direction. So this will be more of a surge, and then we'll have to watch for the rain to see how much rain we get. Let's start with the numbers. Again, for 5 o'clock official numbers, 50-mile-per-hour winds. It's getting a little bit stronger. It just looks a little bit more like what we would expect it to look like, right? You can see that there. This will continue to strengthen. Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow morning right there near Cozumel, the northeast tip there of the Yucatan. This should bring the center air and then kind of turn it to the north and the northeast. The visible satellite's finally showing us to get some thunderstorms around the center, and that's really what we needed for this strength to come up. We not only have recon out there, I'll show you this, but we have a jet flying out ahead of this, and it's measuring the atmosphere out ahead of it. And that will go into the models tonight and really help us get even a more accurate, we think, model run coming out of that. Multiple model runs, of course. So there we are tomorrow at noon. 75-mile-per-hour hurricane moving north now out into the Gulf of Mexico, then north-northeast towards the Big Bend area. If anything, this might have come just a tick to the left, but not much, all right? And the devil's in the details with that. The cone, all this cone says is where the center of the storm may go using error over the last 5 years. How far off were they at this particular time? And they've had the center there, the center there, the center in the middle. So mile-per-hour winds, and that sounds real scary, but that will be right out here near the center. All right, it'll be a small area out near the center if that happens. And then unfortunately, it will be near that center when it makes landfall. And that's what they're forecasting now. 70-mile-per-hour winds as it falls apart in South Georgia. So look, this is a solid hurricane making landfall, tropical storm moving into Georgia. And then the winds won't be as much of an issue as much rain will be, especially it gets up into the mountains, up into northern Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee. That's really going to squeeze out some water there. So the timing, Wednesday night through Friday morning. Wednesday night, some scattered showers late tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Small chance for tornadoes in those. We'll have to watch that, but just a little bit of a breeze. As we get into Thursday, that's when we see the problem. Storm surge 5 to 8 foot for the Tampa Bay area, including in the Bay. And that would be Thursday, 2 p.m. through about 10 p.m. Okay, that's going to be the peak for that. Rainfall, 3 to 6 inches. Some areas will get more. We'll have to watch for that. But look at the winds, 35 to 45 sustained, especially say Tarpon Springs northward. That see gusts a little bit more than that. We are likely to start getting some evacuations of level A. If you are asked to evacuate, please do so. It's for your safety, okay? Let's talk winds first. The yellow is tropical storm force winds. Look at that. They get here. I think it's a little later than Thursday at 6 a.m. because that's kind of the leading edge, but say 8, 9 a.m. on Thursday, tropical storm force winds around 35 to 40 will get in here, right? And they'll pick up a little bit throughout the day. This is 2 p.m. See the winds right there? They're actually blowing out of the south and southeast at that time, but watch as the center goes by. See all the hurricane winds offshore? They stay offshore. That's 75 and higher. Okay, that's about 55 to 60 mile per hour winds just off our coast, and it's so close, I think that's why we'll certainly see gusts in the 60s, if not some spots up towards 70. Now, this is 8 p.m. The wind is now blowing onshore. In fact, it will be after about 2 to 3 o'clock. That is blowing a lot of water up along the coast, and that is the surge issue. Obviously, we expect it up here, but you can see it's blowing pretty good wind into Crystal River as well. Arrival of those winds, this is Thursday at 8 a.m. We're a little bit later than that, so we're going generally right around 9 to 10 a.m. Storms all the way up and down the coast, but the amount of surge will vary. 3 to 4, 3 to 5 towards Fort Myers. I think 3 to 4 will do that. But for Sarasota, Bradenton, 4 to 7, 5 to 8, including Pinellas and Hillsborough County. And then look at Hudson, Pasco, Hernando, 6 to 10. I think we'll end up on the lower side of these numbers, and we'll massage these if we need to. But that's why, if you're asked to evacuate, that's the reason why. That's the numbers coming from the Hurricane Center. Now, here's the timing of the rain. This is tomorrow at 7 p.m. We'll get a few afternoon showers with it, but those are rain bands, and we could actually get a quick spin-up tornado in there. That's 1 a.m. on Thursday morning. Notice the heavier rain stays up to our north and the west. 7 a.m. on Thursday. Here we go. Now, by the afternoon, there's the center. Here comes the heavy rain. So it's Thursday afternoon into the evening hours. That's around 6 p.m. And then notice after that, yes, the rain starts to taper off, but we have these training cells that will move in here, and those could put down quite a bit of rain in a small amount of time over a small area. So those are really down into the details. We'll have to watch that. But here's the deal. That's Thursday at 11 p.m. Everything will slowly be getting better overnight, Thursday night into Friday. No school Wednesday and Thursday, at least for Hillsborough County at this point. They're not going to have school on Friday if that forecast holds, because we still have wind and some rain Thursday night. We still will have people in shelters Thursday night. Our weather impact alert days, late Wednesday, all of Thursday, and the very early morning hours of Friday.
We heard a collective cheer from kids out there. Parents, a little more concerned. Remember, you can stay informed with 10 Tampa Bay Plus stream app for the latest storm track, impacts, and forecast. Pressed by lawmakers on high costs and lost coverage, how the CEO of Novo Nordisk defended the prices of popular weight loss drugs.
10 Tampa Bay is sponsored by Integrity Home Solutions, where details matter.
10 Tampa Bay has issued a weather impact alert for tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. We're tracking Helene, but any little wobble and things can change quickly, so please stay connected. We're here for you with the latest storm track, timing, and the impacts you can expect as the storm nears Tampa Bay. Watch us on TV. Plus, download our mobile app and scan the QR code for our 10 Tampa Bay Plus streaming app. Trust us to help you stay informed, prepared, and connected.
We are tracking the tropics. In just 3 minutes, the latest track on Helene and how the Bay Area is preparing for its potential impacts.
Keeping you informed, prepared, and connected. You're watching 10 Tampa Bay.
And first at 5:30, preparing for Helene. Schools closing down and shelters preparing to open as the Tampa Bay area braces for potential hurricane impacts. I'm Frank Wiley.
And I'm Dave Wagner, in for Courtney this evening. Right now, as Tropical Storm Helene gains strength over the Gulf, people across the Bay Area are getting ready for it.
I want to show you this because right now you are looking live at the St. Pete Emergency Operations Center. Mayor Ken Welch standing at the podium giving an update to the city's storm preparations. We are listening in, breaking down what you need to know throughout the newscast.
We have reporters on the ground right now bringing you team coverage of storm preparations happening around the Tampa Bay area. 10 Tampa Bay's Hannah Deneen is in Citrus County speaking with neighbors working hard to protect their homes there. And Eric Glasser shows you the extra steps being taken before potential storm impacts to protect our beaches.
But first, 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins, as you know, been tracking this storm all day.
Yeah, you know, having a 5 o'clock news show is tough when you have a 5 p.m. update from the Hurricane Center because they have now actually been issuing a bunch of different watches and warnings, just basically updating what we have. So let's start with the big picture once again. You can see the system looks a whole lot better. It is now up to 50 mile per hour winds. The forecast still takes it very similar to what it has been up into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And the timing looks very similar, especially during the day on Thursday as it moves past us. Recon is going out there right now. You can see some of the planes that were out there, but we actually have another one that's flying around out ahead of it, one of the G4s. That's examining the atmosphere out ahead of the storm. That will go into the models, and that really gives us an idea of that type of stuff. So that's really good data that we're getting. Now, here are the watches and warnings that have been updated. Let's get in a little bit closer here. We've got tropical storm watches all the way up past Jacksonville into southeast Georgia on that coast, right, just north of West Palm. What we have here locally, this blue, is now a tropical storm warning. It includes all of our area, including Highlands County, so Lake Placid. You have a tropical storm warning. That means basically we could see winds in excess of 40 miles per hour. Now, this highlighted area you see here, Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco, inland Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco. You have a hurricane watch in effect. Coastal Citrus, coastal Hernando, and coastal Pasco, we're talking basically US 19 and west, maybe perhaps Little Road, I'd say certainly west of 75, hurricane warning. It's looking like now we'll get some winds in those 70s. At least in Sarasota, you have a tropical storm warning with a hurricane watch in effect, right? We definitely, and that's why it takes time at 5 o'clock to get all that out. Now, here's where we are, of course, and you can see the change here. A lot of the forecast models are back in here. Panama City's over here. It's generally been in this area, but you can see some are starting to say maybe a little bit more to the west. That would be really good news for us because that would give us less wind altogether, but we will still have a surge issue. If it goes further west, we will have less of a surge issue. So Timing. Looks like Thursday, really more than anything else, is when we'll start to feel it. We'll have some rain bands tomorrow afternoon and evening, but the tropical storm force winds will get in here around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, and then certainly after 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we will start to feel more and more wind. Again, not a lot, but more and more rain bands, especially by Thursday evening. Bobby Deskin's weather, that's my Facebook and my YouTube. Check that out for more details. You can see them pushing back towards the coast, but that's it, guys. Pretty quiet evening. There's still more out in Polk County. They have to come all the way back to the coast, but a warm, a muggy evening, and you will notice that. The dew points, that humidity, we've got a tropical system coming. It's going to be rising, and you're going to feel it over the next several days. Winds stay out of the east-southeast tonight, only about 5 to 10.
Things are changing. Thanks, Bobby D. Governor DeSantis today announcing steps the state of Florida is taking ahead of potential Helene impacts.
We also have hundreds of Starlinks ready to deploy for internet. So if internet access is lost, we can deploy those Starlinks and get people back online, particularly in businesses who are going to need that to keep the doors open.
The governor also announcing crews are set to deploy over 150,000 linear feet of flood protection along the Gulf Coast. As the state prepares for Helene, the governor is also urging people at home to get ready.
Prepare. You have time to do it. There's a lot of uncertainty with this storm, but the one thing that is certain is we are going to see some impacts. So just prepare yourself accordingly.
Looking live at Tampa International Airport now. Several airlines have issued travel advisories for the airport ahead of potential impacts from Helene. You can see some of the impact areas on your screen right now. These advisories are meant to alert passengers that their flights may be delayed or canceled. All the airlines are offering options for travelers to alter their travel plans. To find out the latest changes for your flight, check directly with your airline. Well, tonight, Citrus County is under a state of emergency with a mandatory evacuation order in effect for Zone A and for people who live in manufactured homes.
In Tampa Bay's Hannah Deneen live for us from the Suncoast Keys neighborhood just west of Homosassa Springs. Hannah, tell us what folks are doing out there to get ready.
Well, Frank, we've seen a lot of people moving furniture to higher ground today and also hardening their homes the best they can with sandbags. And as you can see, what makes this neighborhood so special and beautiful, right along these pretty inlets right here, is also what makes this area so susceptible to storm surge. And Larry's message is the same as that of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office tonight. Do not wait. Know your zone. And if you are in Zone A, then make an evacuation plan now. The mandatory evacuation order for Zone A takes effect tomorrow at 2 p.m. Live in Citrus County, Hannah Deneen, 10 Tampa Bay.
All right, Hannah, most of Florida's panhandle under a state of emergency right now. Just days from now, Helene is expected to make landfall in that area, bringing strong winds, devastating storm surge and heavy rain. The Weather Channel's meteorologist Paul Goodlow is on St. George Island community and nestled in the Gulf of Mexico, south of Panama City Beach, as he reports that area is no stranger to hurricanes.
Thanks to Paul for that, Dave. We know that's the operative word. Preparation. Stay informed, prepared, and connected throughout the storm. Download that free 10 Tampa Bay app. 10 Tampa Bay Plus streaming app for the latest storm tracks, impacts, and forecasts.
And getting our beaches ready before the storm. In just 3 minutes, the work underway right now.
10 Tampa Bay closed captioning is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. 10 Tampa Bay with Courtney Robinson, Frank Wiley, and Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins.
County coastlines at risk of severe damage. This is Tropical Storm Helene continues on a path toward Florida. And video from this morning shows crews moving lifeguard towers to higher ground, all in anticipation of the storm's impact. Pinellas County now working to protect its beaches, dumping sand and pouring in millions of dollars into strengthening the coastline.
Yeah, but now there's fear the storm surge from Helene could undo all of that in just a matter of hours. And 10 Tampa Bay's Eric Glasser has more now. What's being done right now to quickly catalog the progress that's been made so they can measure the storm's impact? And there may be a silver lining in the timing of all this. Beach management workers say the vast majority of turtle nests have already hatched this season, so there is far less concern about those nests being washed away by this storm.
All right, I want to turn back to our guy, Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins, with a specific concern.
Yeah, Bobby, real concern about storm surge with this system.
Yeah. And I think that'll probably be more than anything. That's what we're going to get from this particular storm. The wind won't be as bad as it could be, right? But the highest winds will remain offshore. But it's that wind that's pushing water in our direction, and that water can come on up. So let's talk about it there. Let's start there, as a matter of fact. We basically have a live look out at the beach. This is looking towards Pass Grill. And you know, if you've got one of those newer drones, you can also fly those things at a particular route. You might want to do that now and then go back in 3 or 4 days from now and fly it again, and you'll clearly see the difference, because the winds will basically be coming up the coast right towards the camera right here, and that's what's called a longshore current. And it literally takes the sand from here and it puts it up here and all the way up the beach. I think a lot of that will be happening. Now we have a storm surge warning now in effect. That has been issued now, and that is varying depending on how much you get. So let's start down south. We're thinking around 2 to 4, 3 to 5 from Fort Myers southward, right, Marco Island? And I think it'd be on the lower side of these numbers, right? Storm will be way out here, but it will be pushing some water a little bit towards the coast. Now, these are some of the highest numbers that we've seen in the Bay Area. If this were to happen, this is the highest number we've seen in 15, 20 years. I don't even remember it. Been here 16 years. I don't remember that. And you have to go back to Charlie, which would landfall down south, and we didn't get that here. So hopefully these will be on the lower sides, but that's going to depend on exactly how the storm is and how big it is at that particular time. So we'll be watching these for you and updating them, but that does include inside Tampa Bay, right? Davis Island of 15 for Crystal River, Citrus County, and generally on the lower sides of these. All right, but again, was something that we have to watch. And if the track gets any closer, those numbers will be legit, especially the top ends of those numbers. So here's the wind, and this is the wind that's actually blowing the water. Now, initially, that wind's blowing in this direction. So it kind of blows water out, at least a little bit. And that'll be the beginning of this. That's Thursday morning early. And then through the mid to late morning, those winds will pick up a little bit. We'll get tropical storm force winds. The highest winds, 60-something mile per hour winds or so in the orange, 75 plus here in the red, will stay offshore. But watch this orange area. That gets really close by Thursday afternoon. Unfortunately, at the same time, that wind is starting to come back around in this direction. All right. So not only is the wind coming up, but it's coming in a direction that blows water up. That's why we have a storm surge issue with this one. And I got to tell you, the National Hurricane Center uses Tampa as an example when they're doing mock drills, because it is so shallow out here. It's real easy for wind to push water up for us. And plus, we trap it up into the northern part of the bay because of the way the wind's blowing. That's what we're looking at for tomorrow. Worst case scenario is if that were to land at Tarpon Springs. That would be our worst flooding. Right now, it looks like that won't happen. But this is extrapolate that for this, and you kind of get the idea of what we're dealing with. So this is Thursday, 11 p.m. Still some winds blowing onshore, but less wind and less wind as we go through Thursday night into Friday. Here's what that looks like now on our model. 9 a.m., 20-some mile per hour winds in Tampa on Thursday. By the time we get to 4 p.m., 30 to gusts higher than this. 50s to near 60. That's 6 p.m. on Thursday. Look at this. The latest forecast model's got a lot of wind, 40s, blowing that water in, and that's why we're looking at 5 to 8 foot surge. But look what's happened up in Inglis, and the highest wind there, that wind is really blowing a lot of water up towards the Big Bend area. And that's 8 p.m. on Thursday. I got to tell you, the model's been really consistent on suggesting landfall right around 8 p.m. on Thursday. And you can see this is a little bit further to the right of where the Hurricane Center is. So that will let our winds come down through the evening on Thursday night and Friday morning, but it's going to take a little while. Thursday evening is going to be our peak for the storm surge. 75 mile per hour winds by tomorrow midday, lunchtime. 90 by late tomorrow night into Thursday morning. Early afternoon on Thursday, 115, again, way out here, right around the center, and then landfall, as I just showed you there at Cat 3. So here's the rain. Let's talk a little bit about that. These rain bands will come in here tomorrow afternoon in the evening hours. They won't last very long, but they'll be moving quickly, could produce a quick spin-up tornado and some heavy downpours. The heaviest rain doesn't get here until Thursday. This is Thursday at 7 a.m. That's 2 p.m. and here come the heavy rain bands. And I think it'll be a little bit earlier than that, but that is our flooding threat, 3 to 6 inches. There'll be some spots that get more than that. That's also when we get the highest winds as well. And then gradually as we work our way through 11 p.m. on Thursday and then overnight on Friday, we have some rain bands left over, and that is it. Now this evening, couple of showers left over. That's it. We're going to go 20 to 30% for tonight. The 80% rain chances for a brief rain band or 2 or 3 tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. You see our weather impact alert for tomorrow night, especially Thursday and Thursday night, and then improving conditions once we get the sun to come up on Friday morning.
All right, thank you, Bobby. And of course, now is the time to pick up sandbags. Right now, several sandbag spots still open across the bay. Earlier today, lines of people taking advantage of the free flood protection in Venice. Neighbors tell us what they have seen, what flooding can do, and how they're preparing.
I am concerned. I went through Hurricane Ian, and I would like to be prepared more this time.
To be prepared for this one or any ones that are coming. The storm surge is coming. We don't want, any of the water to come into the house, obviously. You know what I mean? Yeah, Hurricane Ian, we got messed up.
Well, a heads up for Pinellas County residents. The year-long sandbag facility at the Household Hazardous Waste Facility off 28th Street North. This location is meant for advanced planning, and they do not restock it once a storm is forecast. And this now is a great time to download that free 10 Tampa Bay Plus app on your streaming device. That is where you can get extended coverage as we track the storm. That includes the latest forecast.
A Tampa Bay area restaurant is closing its doors in just minutes. The local spot we're saying goodbye to this weekend.
A popular restaurant set to close its doors this weekend. The Goody Goody Burgers location in Hyde Park will serve its final meals on Sunday. The restaurant citing new opportunities and changing circumstances and says the company is still in great shape. In Airside C at TPA.
You can now take the train up to Chicago without having to make any switches along the way. Amtrak is launching the new route called the Floridian next month. It'll make stops in Orlando, Raleigh, Savannah, Washington, D.C., and Pittsburgh along the way. Amtrak says the route will only be operating for a limited time, but haven't given an official end date just yet. Amtrak will launch that route on Sunday, November 10th.
How about that? The train line says the trip will span just under 2 days. As we continue to keep watch on Tropical Storm Helene, next at 6 we will have your school closures, evacuation orders, and the latest track.